Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Certain communities have historically experienced more than their fair share of pollution. Now there's a new effort to address these disparities. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabolsi. San Diego State University is opening a new hub to get funding for environmental justice projects into the right hands. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson looked into the center, which lawmakers say is the first of its kind.
I'm standing in National City on what's known as a brownfield, a plot of land that was polluted by industry and then abandoned. Making it environmentally safe and usable again is one project with which the new center could assist. It's called the Center for Community Energy and Environmental Justice. It's one of 16 launching across the country. Run by SDSU, it will serve states and territories as far as Guam. Representative Juan Vargas says it's one step on a long journey.
Layers of history and events of the past have caused certain communities, like here in National City, to be way more burdened than others with environmental, health, and justice issues. Air pollution, for one, and other environmental health hazards are very complicated matters, and it will take enormous efforts to peel away each of those layers.
Zoning laws funneled racial minorities into areas with more pollution and less resources and support, resulting in worse health issues like high asthma rates in Barrio Logan and lower property values. More federal funding was directed recently to projects that address these disparities, but it can be hard for organizations to access. To know where to find it, how to apply, and who can help, the center is meant to bridge that gap. It will help measure need, facilitate community engagement, obtain grants, and more. The Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Department of Energy gave the center $10 million for the next 5 years. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
In San Diego County, there are currently over 2,500 young people in the child welfare system. As KPBS reporter Melissa May tells us, a new program will help with the transition out of foster care.
As a safety net for our community.
Sal Toronis was 12 years old when he entered the foster care system. He transitioned into guardianship with his grandmother before the age of 16, which made him ineligible for a lot of foster youth services.
I truly wish that when I was between the ages of 16 and 24, there was an organization and program like Career Pathways that was there to help me navigate what I wanted to do in my future.
The goal of the new Career Pathways for Foster Youth program is getting former and current foster youth into careers of their choice as they transition out of the system.
And our youth need to realize that that is totally okay not to know what you want to be when you grow up. We will help explore those career opportunities with our youth.
San Diego County is funding this program to combat issues like high levels of unemployment among foster youth and high rates of homelessness.
When it comes to employment, by age 21, 75% of California's general youth population had a full or part-time employment, as compared to 51% of those in California that had foster care experience.
The program is being led by people with lived experience in the foster care system. Toronis, who is the foster youth liaison for the San Diego Workforce Partnership, is one of them.
A lot of the issues that our youth are faced with in San Diego County or across the nation, it doesn't happen at the interview table. It's happening at home. You know, a lot of our youth are faced with homelessness, food insecurities. They have children and can't afford daycare. Things in that sense.
This comprehensive program includes help with housing, mental health care, transportation, and even child care. But the main focus is on support for finding a job, paid internships, education, and access to training programs.
If they want to become a veterinarian technician, we have a vet tech program. If they want to get into IT or cybersecurity, we have a IT and cybersecurity program. And these are either at no to little cost to our youth. So it's a great alternative to obtaining a higher education without the cost.
Applications for the program are open to current or former foster youth ages 16 to 24 who live in San Diego County. Go to workforce.org/fosteryouth. Melissa May, KPBS News.
The ordinance banning sidewalk vending near a certain areas such as beaches and Balboa Park has officially been lifted, but many vendors have gotten around the ban all summer long thanks to a loophole. A clause in the ordinance exempts vendors from the ban if they are engaged in artistic performance, free speech, or expressive activity.
The First Amendment is I'm a creator with my hands. You can't say that I can't come to the beach to create. You understand? Like, because anybody can come anywhere and create. So, and that's because I create with my hands. And it just so happens that my creations are so amazing that people want to purchase them.
The communications director for Mayor Todd Gloria says the city will create a zone where people claiming freedom of speech can operate. The city also says it will make the ordinance more clear about what vending activity is being regulated. It appears the latest COVID-19 variant may not be too vicious this fall. The latest research suggests people who are vaccinated appear to be able to fight it off. But as John Lawrence reports, the virus is still swirling around the nation in increasing numbers.
COVID-19 didn't take a vacation this summer, and it's not heading out for fall either.
How bad it's going to get, we don't know. As you know, this is a very unpredictable virus. Has shown us that over the last 3.5 years.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, COVID-related hospitalizations in the U.S. have been inching upward over the past few weeks. And on Monday night, the White House released a statement saying First Lady Jill Biden tested positive for the virus. A spokeswoman for Mrs. Biden says she's staying in her Delaware home dealing with, quote, mild symptoms. President Joe Biden tested negative.
People more likely to know somebody who might have COVID or may have had COVID themselves. But admittedly, this is hard to validate because there's just not as much testing.
The CDC recommends that people who catch COVID-19 should isolate for at least 5 days, wear a mask until testing negative twice over a 2-day period, and keep up to date with vaccinations.
There's going to be a CDC advisory meeting on September 12th. That is the point where this booster may be recommended broadly for the population. We'll see what happens.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
We have a reminder, Caltrans is planning major work on the I-5 near downtown starting this coming weekend. Crews will be doing emergency repair work on the bridge over State Route 163, and southbound lanes of the 5 will be closed for 56 hours. The closure will affect those southbound lanes beginning at I-8 from 9 p.m. on Friday until 5 a.m. Monday. And there will be another long closure later this month. We originally stated that it will affect northbound lanes of the 5 in the same area, but the closure will be from the 15 in Barrio Logan up to the repair site, and we do regret the error. The closure will start on the evening of September 29th and run through October 2nd.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the News Hour, Congress returns to Washington with a funding deadline close at hand. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
2 years after the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, San Diego Marine units are among several receiving the highest unit level award in the military. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer has the story.
On the 2-year anniversary of the deadly U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced Marine units from Camp Pendleton and Miramar Air Station are receiving Presidential Unit citations. The award is the highest a unit may receive and is usually awarded for gallantry in combat. Its ranking is on par with an individually awarded Distinguished Service Cross. In a statement Thursday marking the anniversary of the withdrawal, Austin acknowledged the more than 2,400 U.S. troops killed in Afghanistan since 2001. He credited the troops that deployed to the airport in August 2021 with evacuating more than 120,000 Afghan civilians.
I was not going to extend this forever war, and I was not extending a forever exit.
Marines from 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment at Camp Pendleton were among the Special Purpose Task Force assigned to the Middle East when Afghanistan began falling to the Taliban. They were sent to the Kabul airport as tens of thousands of Afghans tried to get out ahead of the Taliban takeover. On August 26, 2021, a suicide bomber detonated a bomb near the Abbey Gate of the airport, killing 13 U.S. troops and at least 170 Afghans. 10 of the troops killed were based at Camp Pendleton. In addition to 2-1, the Marines say squadrons based at Camp Pendleton and Miramar involved in the Kabul operation are also receiving the award. In total, the Presidential Unit Citation is being awarded to more than 30 units across the Marine Corps and Army. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
Flights for the nation's third largest airline can resume after a nationwide ground stop was lifted. The FAA issued an alert that United Airlines is delaying all flights nationwide due to, quote, an equipment outage, unquote. The latest numbers from FlightWare show United delayed hundreds of flights and canceled 14 as a result. If the end of summer already has you thinking about next year's travel plans, you are not alone. But if you're planning a European vacation in 2024, you'll need to apply in advance to go to most countries. Mike Valerio explains the change.
So, you want to go to Europe in the new year? Well, this will likely be a new must-do, applying online to enter most European countries first before you get on a plane.
You'll enter your passport details, you'll enter a few security questions, maybe some questions about your trip details.
It's because of a new layer of European border security called the European Travel Information and Authorization System, or ETIAS. Citizens of the 60 or so non-EU countries that don't currently require a visa to enter the EU, such as the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada, will now need a visa waiver to enter the world's largest visa-free zone. That includes countries like Italy, France, Greece, and Switzerland.
The ETIAS is basically being implemented to improve the safety, security, and to strengthen their borders in this visa-free zone. So this will screen travelers who don't require a full visa.
Designers of the system say applications should be processed in minutes. The vast majority completed in 96 hours. But authorities from the EU caution some applicants may be asked to provide additional information or documentation or to participate in an interview with national authorities, which may take up to additional 30 days.
We recommend you do these at least 30 days prior to your travel.
That's why it's advised not to book flights or accommodations until confirmation that the application is approved.
I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
Kids are filling classrooms across the country after their summer break. Is it time for adults to get back in the office too? Some major companies that allowed remote work say yes. Karen Kaifa has a look at how workplace dynamics and the labor market has changed.
Getting workers back to the office after the depth of the COVID-19 pandemic has had stops and starts. But now the CEOs of some major companies say they mean it. They say they want workers back in the office this fall or they'll face consequences.
We are at a clash of contexts right now where employers, again, as I said, and employees are not on the same page.
That includes some companies that flourished during the early days of the pandemic, like Amazon, whose CEO recently told U.S. employees to get on board with a policy requiring at least 3 days a week at a physical office location or consider working elsewhere. Zoom said last month that employees who live near an office need to be on site at least 2 days a week. And employees are finding the labor market is no longer tight enough to give them an upper hand. In July, the number of available jobs in the U.S. dropped to its lowest level since March 2021, according to government data. Employers who want workers back in the office cite the benefits of face-to-face conversations and collaborations. But some experts like Callie Williams-Yost, whose company has counseled others on how and where work is done for about 20 years, say this is still an experiment.
In the office does not equal in person. And that's something that employers and employees have to come together and ask the question, what do we need to do and how, when, and where do we do it best?
In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
The human suffering from the wildfires in Maui is immense, but they aren't the only ones. Veterinarians are working as hard as they can to ease the pain of pets and other animals injured and lost in the fires. Mehelani Richardson reports.
These are some of the helpless victims of the Lahaina wildfire. Roman ran off from his dog sitter and suffered severe burns. He was rescued by a Good Samaritan and reunited with his owner thanks to a microchip.
Yes, me too.
Here at the Maui Humane Society in Pu'unene, more than 20 burned animals are under constant care, needing daily bandage changes, pain medication, antibiotics, and fluids.
It is very difficult to see these animals in such tremendous pain.
This is little Mamaki, and someone turned her in 3 weeks after the Lahaina wildfire. You can see, she has all of these bandages, and she's not very comfortable, but doctors give her a good prognosis, and they say that she's going to be okay after some loving care. I know. Oh, I know. Oh.
The majority of the animals that we are caring for right now are severe burn victims. Whether it's the ears of cats, the whiskers that have been completely singed, and unfortunately the paw pads of a lot of these animals have been either down to the bone or extremely raw.
He gets a hydro one from vet staff on days of his bandage changes just to help because he's a little extra painful.
Tiffany Davis is a foster vet tech. She's caring for Nigel, who came from Lahaina.
I love him. And just 2 days ago, he started trying to play ball a little bit, as best as he could. So he's feeling better, and he's getting more and more sassy every day.
The Maui Humane Society, along with a team of animal groups, have been escorted by the National Guard into the burn zone since last week, where they set up traps in hopes of finding more lost animals.
We want the community to know that we are here for them and that we are going to be doing everything that we can to reunite them with their pets, because we know that pets are a part of the ohana.
But you like this thing? Oh, sweetheart.
Another animal patient in the clinic is named Ho'omo in Hawaiian to carry on. Despite the heartbreaking loss of Lahaina, it's about perseverance for these animals and the people who cherish them.
And this is a long road of recovery, and we're in this for the long haul.
That was Maheilani Richardson reporting. The San Diego Humane Society sent a team to Maui to help. During their time, they helped over 1,000 animals and the people who love them.
Through time, over the next couple of days, we'll start to see a bit of a change going on with less low clouds and morning fog. Choppy surf continues, especially to the north. There are some alerts out, and the interior heat is also going to be making a bit of a return. High surf advisories is still stretching from Newport Beach on off toward the north, including Catalina Island. This again going right into Wednesday evening, and this is where some of the wave heights will be at their highest. With that in mind, let's work our way throughout the overnight. Temperatures dropping back down into the mid-60s around Oceanside and Chula Vista. Borrego Springs falling off into the upper 60s. Mount Laguna down to 58. Let's work our way through time here into the late night, the early morning, and we'll still notice some low clouds and fog, but not as much of an impact as we've seen in recent days. And this will be the tendency as we work our way through time. Even where we do see some of the low clouds and fog make a return, the longevity here is not going to be the case as it was previously. Temperature-wise, again, as we work our way throughout the afternoon, Borrego Springs back in the mid-90s. Ramona tops off at 84. Chula Vista at 75. And down the road we go toward the coast. Here comes the warmth. Along with that, more sunshine. Look at the weekend. We're back in the 80s, mid-80s. In fact, we'll also experience that change here over some of the interior valleys. More sunshine of the way later on this week, into this weekend. Temperatures will respond as they climb up through the 80s and back into the mid-90s Saturday into Sunday. Over the mountainous terrain, lots of sunshine as we work our way throughout the next several days, and gradually we'll see those temperatures climbing up into the 70s. More notably here toward the deserts, we go from the mid-90s Wednesday afternoon into the upper 100s through the weekend. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Povick.
Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America, and according to some neighbors, it's also one of the loudest. Homeowners in San Diego and across the country are increasingly taking legal action to resolve pickleball noise disputes. KPBS reporter Scott Rodd has the story.
Jay Glazal moved into her Carlsbad home about 6 years ago. She was drawn to the Seacliff gated community for its tranquility. And then 2 years ago,
they started pickleball. Oh my God. It changed my life overnight.
Pickleball. It's a game similar to tennis that's played with paddles and a hard plastic ball. The community's tennis/pickleball court is about 60 feet from Glazal's bedroom window. No one's on the court this afternoon, but she reenacts the sound for me.
I'm hearing this pop, 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 pop for hours, and it can be up to 8 hours a day, 7 days a week.
She says the noise pierces through her double-paned windows. She works from home in the evenings and tries to sleep during the day. But the popping often keeps her awake. If they're still playing by the time she starts work, Glazal has to wear noise-canceling headphones to focus. She says it's even started affecting her health.
I would get these splitting headaches, and then my blood pressure started going up, and this was the only consistent irritation in my life.
Glazal recently filed a lawsuit against the Seacliff Homeowners Association. She wants pickleball banned from the community tennis courts and is seeking $300,000 in damages. A representative for the Homeowners Association declined an interview request. This lawsuit isn't a one-off spat. As more and more players pick up paddles, clashes over pickleball noise are happening up and down California and around the country.
Our firm has handled upwards of 25 separate cases.
Nicholas Kaplan is a partner at the real estate law firm Lubin, Pham & Kaplan and represents Glazal in her lawsuit.
From Sacramento down to Chula Vista, they are all over the state. Orange County, Los Angeles County, San Francisco County, I could go on and on.
Kaplan has carved out something of a specialty handling these pickleball noise cases. Some of his clients have taken on homeowners associations, while others have challenged cities and counties that allow pickleball in public parks near homes. Kaplan says while some cases go to court, most are settled through mediation and often result in an outright ban on pickleball in a specific location.
I have nothing against the sport. People need exercise. The sport is playable by a lot of people. But what I do believe is that it shouldn't infringe on somebody else's rights.
Since many of these disputes arise when a nearby tennis court is converted into a pickleball court, many people ask, is the sound that much different between the two sports?
Yeah. Well, tennis is quite a bit different.
Lance Willis is the principal acoustical engineer at Spendarian and Willis Acoustics and Noise Control. The Tucson-based firm has handled roughly 80 pickleball noise consultations around the country since 2010, including ones tied to lawsuits. He says with tennis,
a strung racket does not radiate sound very efficiently. The tennis ball is filled with air. It's soft. It has a rubber outside, but you just don't get as much sound.
With pickleball, where rapid-fire points are exchanged at the net,
it's the popping sound that the hard ball against the paddle makes. The sound is actually radiated mostly from the paddle. That causes a great deal of distraction for people that are close to the courts.
Willis says that sound can tear neighborhoods apart.
It is kind of sad to watch in some situations because it really, I have seen it divide communities right down the middle.
At Gershwin Park in San Diego, a regular group of pickleball players are trying to find common ground with neighbors to avoid that kind of division. Bob Scheibel, a retired school teacher, lives in the neighborhood and plays pickleball most mornings.
We try to be as respectful as possible and keep to our hours, the hours that we're allowed to play. Beyond that, I don't know that there's an easy solution.
Some frustrated neighbors have filed noise complaints with the city's Parks and Recreation Department, but it's nearly impossible to soundproof a court that's already been built. So for now, the city gives priority to pickleball in the morning and then tennis later in the day. Scheibel says the long-term answer may be found in embracing the sport's exploding popularity.
As the city develops more public courts, it will lessen the impact on individual neighborhoods like this one.
Yeah. He says more places to serve, slice, and dink means spreading out the noise and hopefully keeping pickleball on the playing courts and not in the court of law. Scott Rodd, KPBS News.
The San Diego Women's Basketball Association started 25 years ago. with just 3 ladies, and now there is a new league in North County. The SWBA partnered with Carlsbad by the Sea Assisted Living to create the San Diego Senior Women's Basketball Association. It's a fun but competitive league for women ages 50 and up with all levels of experience.
Meet some new people, going out and doing some things with people, cheering my teammates on.
It's like a women's get-together, and that we have fun, get our exercise, have some competition, and everybody's nice to each other too, which is great.
The San Diego Senior Women's Basketball Association is a recreational league, but they do compete in state and national tournaments. New players are always welcome. Rookie trainings are held on most Sundays starting at 9:30 in the morning. And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. Women in the U.S. military's Special Operation Forces still face intense sexism. NPR's Morning Edition dives into recent reports highlighting barriers for women service members. And student loan repayments are set to resume over the next 2 months after more than a 3-year pause. And KPBS Midday Edition is breaking down all of the changes and what borrowers can expect. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.